All right. Yes. Yes. It's finally here. Wednesday. It's finally here, dog. It's podcasting day. And I'm so happy because it's the end of the year. It's, Jesus. It's the end of the year. It's the end of 2020. This year has been fucking insane for so many reasons other than, the pandemic. And I'll do a yearly wrap up before I do the other stuff that I have planned to do today. But first, before I get into any of that shit, let me welcome y'all. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and anyone that might be in between, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the it's not the Case Study Podcast. This is the Unspoken Mind Podcast, episode number 3. I am your host, your beautiful, luxurious, magnificent host, Isaias Hernandez, here with all the fucking news that you will need for 2020. I'm just talking about shit right now. But I'm your host, Isaias Hernandez. And to be honest, man, the only reason why I'm here is I want to give you guys a good time. I want to give you guys a good time, and I want you guys to enjoy your stay. It's beautiful Jersey weather right now. It's beautiful right now. If you don't know, I'm located in New Jersey, so it's beautiful Jersey weather. And I don't know, man. Let's get right into it. There's not much more to say after that. Let's get into it, man. And where I want to start off is right now, today, currently, it is the 30th of December, the last episode that I will do of any podcast, whether it be my Unspoken Mind music one, my case study one, and I'm putting my full focus and attention to this one, right? If you know anything about my podcast, you know I've tried this and done this a million times over and over, and it just hasn't panned out. But this one, I want to put my full foot forward going into 2021. This will be my baby. This will be my experiment. This will be my chance to do some more, to talk to you guys, to connect with an audience. I also have planned, like, for 2021, I have planned, like, I want to get into streaming more, which I've been doing, but right now, 2021 for me is looking up. This has been a weird fucking year. I'll tell you that much. It's been a really, really weird year for everyone. This year has caused us to adjust to a new normal. And for most of the year, there was a widespread panic throughout the nation that everyone can feel, whether it be the pandemic, whether social injustice issues that still are going on. And please, I urge everyone to don't stop your efforts in that. I'm fully behind you. I fully support that. I wish I would be able to go to more protests and shit to actually, like, maybe use my voice for the good of many others. But this has been a weird year, man. It's been a year of change. And, with so much happening outside of society, life doesn't stop, And what I mean when I say that is, like, people are still dealing with, like, family members who are sick with other illnesses outside of COVID. Spontaneous events still occur that change lives in an instant, like like car crashes and fucking. And I don't want to get too sad and down here because I'm in a really good mood, but this year has been tough. We've lost icons of up and coming stars, Juice WRLD, Pop Smoke, Chadwick Boseman. We lost a couple of NBA Hall of Famers, a couple of NFL Hall of Famers. And granted, and like I'm saying, these things happen every year. It's just a lot more to deal with when you're in a pandemic. When that fear of being with the people that you care about is there as well, because you don't know if you're gonna give someone something that they don't need right now in their life. And we'd like to think that these things don't affect our mental health, but they do. These things are way heavy on the soul. When you see things like people fighting for injustice, these things weigh heavy on the soul. When you see earlier this year, it was very true. Where, like, trucks of bodies were being carted off in New York. like shit like that. You know, these things happened. You know, and to not acknowledge them at all is really bad on their part. And like on top of that, I'd move this conversation toward the people who don't really think that COVID is a real thing, or that are tired with the pandemic itself. Listen, sometimes what's happening is bigger than you. You know, sometimes it doesn't affect you. If it doesn't affect you, that doesn't mean it's not happening. You fucking idiots. Why can't we just support people through what they're going through, you know? Why can't we just uplift people instead of putting them down or fucking, you know, shitting on their circumstance? No one asked to be a victim of the pandemic. Yet we still have them day in and day out every single day of this year, and we're still the only country who fucking has to deal with the cases because we can't follow protocols, the protocols the rest of the world has followed and has maintain this virus. You know, if you get coronavirus and you're fine after a couple of days, cool. It didn't affect you. That doesn't mean someone who didn't have a pre-existing condition who got the thing didn't survived it. You know, especially earlier on this year where the numbers were through the roof. Like we had to close down everything. Like, this shit was wild. Like, I was working at Walmart when this shit was happening. Like, when this shit was first started happening. And shit was wild. Like the stores were packed. People were buying resources out the ass. Fear was at an all-time high. Fear was at a high I've never seen it be at before. This is what this year has brought us. And moving into 2021, I want to say things will get better, but you never know, you know? You never know if something worse is yet to await us. If this was the the calm before the storm, quote unquote. This world is a crazy place, man. We live based on the unpredictable, and as much as we like to predict and make plans and think about the future, we don't know. We don't know anything other than the moment that we're living in. So, for 2021, I would urge people and who have gone through this year, you know, I would urge these people to live in the moment, you know, to be here, to enjoy now, you know. Stop thinking about the future 3 years from now, because we have no idea what can happen in 3 years. That is a while. Let's focus on the now. Let's obtain the small goals that we can in order to push ourselves forward, you know. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about this year. You know, for me personally, this year has been hard on my mental health, you know, and mental health is something I've been dealing with my entire life. This year, especially with us having to adjust to new normal, has been especially difficult. Like, you look outside and it's fucking demoralizing. Like, I don't want to go outside and see people with masks on, but you know, it's the reality that we have to live in right now. We have to get through this step. We have to get through it together as a nation, so we can live, or we can go back to a sense of normalcy that we had pre-pandemic. You know, it's tough on everyone. That's why people are revolting. And I understand why they're revolting. I just ask for them to be patient, you know, for them to wait this thing out, for them to see through this pandemic as you know, united as a people, instead of as individuals who are sick and tired, quote unquote, of what's been happening. That's all I gotta say on that, man. Yeah. It's been a tough year. Personally, like, I was hospitalized for this shit, you know? Like, as much as you like to say it doesn't weigh heavy on the soul, it does. It fucking hurts for me anyway, to see the world in this state, or the United States in this state, you know? We want to get past this, and if we keep trying to just force forcing going back to a spot that we were. We're never going to move forward because we can't go back that way. The way that we used to live pre-pandemic, the only way we can obtain that sense of lifestyle is going through the pandemic, actually seeing it through, you know. We're still having spikes of cases. It's not safe right now. And I know that sounds fucking terrible and demoralizing, but it's the truth, you know. It's been a tough fucking year, you know. It's been a tough fucking year. But that doesn't mean don't keep your head up, you know. I suffer through a couple mental illnesses. I'm schizophrenic as well as depressed. I'm schizoaffective, so that's like a mix between schizophrenia and bipolar. And I'm also depressed as fuck. That doesn't mean I want to keep my head down. I want to continue to keep my head down in this hard time, you know. That's why I'm doing this, to help you guys. Someone who may be going through a hard time, I want to help you guys through this. That's why I'm doing it. All right. With that being said, this year has been fucking nuts, but that didn't stop people from releasing music. And there's been some damn good music that's been released this year. I could not choose out 10 albums. Last year, I did a list of 10 albums that I thought were the top 10 of 2019. And this year, I'm going to do the same. But I have 15 albums this time instead of 10 because I couldn't narrow it down from these 15 albums that I really, really enjoy and I listen to still on a daily basis. Whether it be a couple songs or a lot of songs, these are highs that I think are noted within these albums. And I'll get into them right here. I got the list right here. This is the list. It's 15 albums of 2020 that I thought were fucking amazing. All right, let's get into it. Let's go. Let's get into it. So right here, what I want to do is I want to actually pull up. I want to pull up the. Oops, and I gave away number 15. I want to pull up the album artworks and covers so I could talk about it. At number 15. So we got 10 and then 5. Tame Impalas, The Slow Rush. Now this album was 18 songs, I think, of pure fucking beautiful sounding music. The production on this was top notch. The one thing that I will knock about this album though, why I couldn't put it higher on this list is I wasn't a huge fan of the way Tame Impala's vocals were mixed. I felt like on some of the tracks, his vocals weren't I would like them to be like louder, basically. I think it could have been mixed a little bit better. Though the production itself, the actual instrumentals were fucking beautiful. A couple of my highs on this album was posthumous Forgiveness and Take It Easy, I think. I have to look at the track list again, but there's a couple songs on this that are really, really fucking high. No weed intended, but they're really, really fucking high on that I listen to every single day. Posthumous Forgiveness, I know, is one of them, and right now I can't think of the other ones because I want to get through these 15 albums and I want to kind of give a quick review because I can't stay on these albums too long and I'd be here for an hour and a half. But this Slow Rush, if you're looking for music like that are strictly vibes and slow jam vibes, kind of like for meditation purposes or like just to chill out. Maybe you're smoking weed and you want to just relax and listen to music. This album is beautiful background noise for that. And it's overall, it's a beautiful album. So that's number 15. Number 14 that I'm going to give is an album that was actually released this December. And it's Eminem's Music to Be Murdered by Side B. Now, I am a huge Eminem fan. Eminem was one of the first artists that I listened to that really got me into love for music. It was the album Recovery back in 2010. That was the first full album that I ever listened to. And, as a young guy, I was 10 years old. It was fucking beautiful. It was the most beautiful shit I've ever heard. I never knew someone could string words together the way that he strung words together. But I'm hugely Eminem biased, and Music to Be Murdered by Side B, I think, was him recapturing the fun in writing music and producing it. Not only were the beats like 20 times better than the shit the last couple albums that he's dropped it's just, you can hear the fun. It's a lot different than an album like Revival, where he's trying to force a message, and you know, he's super serious, and the beats are fucking just distasteful as fuck. This album, you can hear the fun again. You can hear remnants of what made him great, which was the comedy, not so serious, witty punchlines, and when he wants to get serious, he can. Some of the highs on this album, I would say, are Nat, the one of the main singles that he's been pushing. Alfred's theme, I really love the instrumental on that. It's such a playful instrumental, and Eminem, his flow switches on that song are fucking beautiful. Zeus, which remind me a lot of it's him modernizing his music, basically. Zeus. And the thing that's most surprising with a song like that is that he incorporates a third verse, which is very lost on this generation, but that's a whole nother conversation. The one thing that I will say about this album, though, is that its lows are really low. Like, I hate when Eminem attempts a club single or something that like resembles a club single. There's a couple moments on that, like here, where the production is a very bumping 808s, and I don't know, it just it doesn't fit him. Like, I would rather him I would rather him continue to rap on beats that sound a little bit more underground than pop trap, you know. But number 14, it's a really good album. If you were into fun comedy style rap, don't take it too seriously, you're just listening to the music, I would really encourage you to listen to this album. It's a really, really good album. Yeah, that's all I gotta say for my number 14 slide. Now, moving on to number 13. This album was released back in February, I think. Yeah. This album was released earlier in this year, and it's Unlocked by Denzel Curry. Now, this is an 8-track EP that was a really... the reason why I like this album so much is because it incorporated a lot of techno, like electronic sounds, and it fused both electronic and hip-hop together. And Denzel, being the monster that he is, he fucking rips a lot of the tracks that are on here, though it's only an 8-track EP. There's a lot of songs that I really fucking enjoy. Diet is one of them, where it's more so a vibe song. Layup, Cosmic, these are songs that really... These are songs that really incorporate the East Coast boom bap sound, but they remain in an electronic, futuristic-y kind of sound. Kenny Beats really outdid himself in the production in this one, and I can't praise it enough. The one thing that I would say about this album is that I would have it higher if it didn't have any misses, and it has a couple misses on the album. But regardless, it's a really, really good listen. I really, really enjoyed it throughout the year, and as maybe recency bias would make me place this higher on the list, but as of now, I got it on number 13. You know, moving on from number 13, I will go to number 12. Now, this album is one of my favorite albums that have been released that wasn't an R&B. I mean, that wasn't R&B. That wasn't hip hop, and this is Nectar from Joji. This is an 18-track, I think, album, and it was a really good album. Again, this is more of a vibey, kind of pop R&B album, and I think Joji outdid himself. What I'm a really big fan of this particular project was the production as well as the vocals. Now, I've never heard a Joji project outside of this. I don't know if he has a better project than this, but this was a really good fucking album. From start to finish, the cohesiveness was there. The one thing that I will say about this album that I wish could have been better was the simple fact that it was 18 tracks long. I think It could have been a little bit smaller, and if it were a little bit smaller, say maybe 15 to 13 tracks, I would have definitely had this higher on my list. It would have definitely cracked the top 10, but it's only at number 12 because of the misses. Like, there's a little Yachty feature on here that's so. I think when he has features, it's not the best. His feature list was very, very lacking, and there were only a little bit of features. That's why I say if this album was maybe a couple tracks shorter, I would have really enjoyed this project. But it has skips, and then some of the albums that come after it, they don't have any skips for me, you know. And I'll get into them a little bit later. Like number 11. Number 11 was by one of my favorite Detroit artists. Number 11 is Boldy James and the Alchemist's The Price of Tea in China. Now, this album in itself, I think, really solidified Boldy James as one of the most underrated storytellers that I have heard thus far. I don't think Boldy James gets the credibility that he's due at being a storyteller, the menacing storyteller that he is, you know. And right now I'm listening to one of the another album that's lower on his list. I'll get to it in a little bit, but this fucking album is dark and it's moody, and I love one of the things that I fucking absolutely love from Boldy James is his delivery. He sounds like menacing. He sounds like he's gonna fucking assassin someone through the mic, you know. But that fits the aesthetic that this album was going for. Alchemist produced dark ass, grimy ass fucking beats for this album. Things that I fell in love with. This was a 10 to 12 track EP with the there was a deluxe version that added a couple songs. There was and the couple songs made it because there was 2 misses and then 2 really good songs on the deluxe. But yeah, I'm not like, there's nothing bad I can say about this album, and this is when I really start getting into the lower tiers of it, of my list. It's amazing. It's amazing. I really liked this album a lot. This album came out, I think it was really early this year that this album came out, and maybe, like I said, for the Unlocked record, if it had come out a little bit earlier in the year, maybe I would have it higher on this list just because of recency bias. But I think some of the thing that made this album not be higher on the list is that I think the Alchemist, the producer, he got a little bit too experimental on some songs. Like the one with Benny the Butcher, I think it was a little bit too experimental. The instrumental, as well as a couple of the deluxe songs. That's the only reason why I didn't end up higher on the list. Now, moving on from that, we're at number 10. Number 10. Number 10 is Royce the 5'9". Royce the 5'9's The Allegory, that also came out earlier this year, in the first quarter of this year. Now, this was a 20-track album that it has a lot of fucking information, a lot of shit that is Googleable, and you know, a lot of dark shit. Like, there's a skit on this album, and this is one of the reasons why I love it so much, where like it talks about the ice cream theme song, and how it was created by, it was originally it was a racist song, and it was produced by Columbia Records, and it's still used to this day. And there's a whole bunch of shit like that on here. And Royce even goes out so far as to say, you know, Google it. And the one thing I will say about this album is that Royce the 5'9's pen is, it's like wine. It just gets better with age, you know. It's not like it's like he's effortlessly being the like one of the best lyricists ever, you know. Royce the 5'9's pen, it feels like he's a master. He's like a master teaching people and making it really blatantly obvious with his delivery. Like, he just he feels like a veteran now. You know, he feels like someone who has goated himself with this album. Now I wish this album was a little bit smaller, because there are some skips, and if I will say this as well, some of the features don't really match up to par with Royce da 5'9", which makes the album fall a little bit short for me. It makes those tracks skippable. Like there's a Graph feature. I'm a huge fan of Graph. I really like the album he put out this year too, by the way. It was called I don't remember the name, but I still listened to a couple songs off the album. It was okay. He has a couple other Kid Vicious okay feature on a really good song, by the way. Royce da 5'9" he rips the beginning of that song, and then he leaves it up to Kid Vicious, but Kid Vicious doesn't really match the intensity that Royce da 5'9" is going at on the mic. And you know, I can't wait to hear Royce's next album, because I think it'll be better than this one. And this is not Royce da 5'9"'s best work, in my opinion. I think Royce da 5'9"'s best work is the Book of Ryan that was released in 2018. But anyway, moving on from number 10, I want to go to number 9. Number 9 is Black Thought and now, I said it for Royce, but I can also say it for Black Thought when I say that this man's pen just gets better with age. These two feel like veterans that are preaching to a younger audience about the lessons that they have learned, and they're just giving it out to, you know, to feed a younger audience. It's like a mogul giving you game, you know. And this album consists of themes throughout racial inequality and the state of the rap game itself, and so much more. There's so much. Same, and this goes for the Royce album too. There's so much information that these two are giving you. You can spend hours listening and re-listening to this music, and you won't be able to catch everything, because it's just that deep. And that goes for his rhyme schemes as well. These men, they do double and triple entendres like effortlessly. It doesn't even sound like they're putting effort into this music and to their pen. It sounds fucking beautiful. And there's one more artist on here that I can say the same for, and he's more so down the list. But Streams of Thought Volume 3, a lot of my favorite songs actually include Portugal the Man. That's one thing that I will say about this feature, this feature list, is that I really enjoy the feature list here. They do hooks, and that's another thing that I like from this Streams of Thought volume compared to the other couple ones. This one actually felt like a body of work. It felt like a cohesive listen. It's something that the other couple Streams of Thought lacked. I felt like they didn't really have a story to tell. It was kind of just Black Thought get on a fucking record and rip the fucking record. But this was more so cohesive, thematic, you know, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this listen. That's why it comes in at number 9. Now we're in the top 10 now. It's getting intense. Black Thought, I would encourage anyone to go listen to it. And let's move on to number 8. Number 8, we have The Weeknd's After Hours. After Hours album. Now, I'm not a huge Weeknd fan, but this album was exceptional. I cannot tell a lie. This album was really, really fucking good. It was very surprising to me as someone who has been a super casual Weeknd fan, especially after Starboy, I think that album was called, where he went a lot more pop. What this album does really, really well is that it incorporates pop and R&B seamlessly. It's like you can barely tell the difference. A couple of my favorite tracks on here would be Snow Child, Blinding Lights, and After Hours. Now After Hours is my favorite off the album, no doubt in my mind. But Yeah, the one thing that doesn't put this album ahead of the other albums is partially my enjoyment of the album, and the other thing was that a lot of after a couple listens, the production itself starts to blend in with each other. Now it does make for a cohesive listen, but at points it feels like you're listening to the same song over again, over and over, just because of how similar the beats are to one another. Which makes it seem like, which gives the appearance that The Weeknd maybe copy pasted a couple of the beats that were on here. But that is a completely fucking arbitrary and that's my taste. I can't explain why I don't like it. I just don't like it because I would wish, or I would hope that it'd be a little bit more. It would lead into a different direction, But number 8. After Hours, The Weeknd, really, really solid fucking album. But now, moving on to number 7. Number 7 on the list. Number 7 on this list would have to be Run the Jewels 4. EIP and Killer Mike make a fucking killer duo with this album. And it's a really phenomenal listen if you go ahead and listen. And, the one thing that I will say about this album is that it delivers a very powerful verses throughout the album. Because, like I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the year in wrap up, this album was released around the time that a lot of the social injustices and social protests were going on. And Killer Mike just has some fucking beast verses on here that really hit home with what's happening outside. It's just, it's beautiful all around. The one thing that makes this album really, that holds it back, I would feel like, is the choruses. Now, I understand the direction that Run the Jewels is going. They're a bit more alternative hip-hop in the sense that they enjoy a lot more different instruments that you wouldn't necessarily hear on a regular hip-hop album. And that's cool, but where I felt like there could have been improvement would be hooks. It would have made a lot more enjoyable the listen. But nonetheless, EIP and Killer Mike really fucking stood out on this album. Yeah. So they're number 7. Number 6. Number 6. Number 6. Alfredo. Alchemist lands on this list twice with the production on this album. Freddie Gibbs and The Alchemist released Alfredo earlier this year around the springtime. And let me tell you something, man. Freddie Gibbs has been on a fucking roll ever since he released Pinata. He just can't miss. This album, if I were to rank it, it would be a 9 out of 10. Dark, it fits the aesthetic of what Freddie Gibbs has been doing his entire career. And Freddie Gibbs, the same as Bodie James, is just a phenomenal storyteller. He takes his life experiences and his life events, and he's just able to construct them in a way that gets me going back every single time to this album. The highs on this album are phenomenal. The feature list do not disappoint on this album. Tyler, the Creator, has one of the best standout verses on here. Who else is on? Conway the Machine fucking really stands out, as well as Benny the Butcher. And those are two guys that have really they have outdid themselves this year. Them two also released albums, I don't think, that were better than any of the albums that I got on here, but really, really fucking solid performances and just cohesion in general. When you listen to an album like this, it's just so easy to listen to it back to back, because number one, it's a short album. It's like 30 to 40 minutes in length, 10 tracks, super short, but the thematic, you feel the themes that are in here. It doesn't leave you wanting for more. It fulfills all your needs that you need to be on the album. And that's what Freddie Gibbs and The Alchemist do with their production and their fucking delivery. Freddie Gibbs has one of my favorite deliveries in hip hop right now, along with Boldy James. Both of them two are really killing the fuck out of everything that's happening right now. But that is my number 6 spot. Now we're in the top 5. We're in the top 5. We're in the top 5. Woo! It's exciting. Yes, let's go. Top 5. Top 5. Now at number 5, we got Griselda's very own West Side Gun. Pray for Paris. Now, the same with this album. It's 13 tracks, and now the thing that separates this album from the rest of the other albums is its artistry. You know, West Side Gun, with his ad-libs, with his production, with the skits that he incorporates within these albums, allows the album to feel like one entire song. Now, it's different from an album like I mentioned earlier, After Hours, because it doesn't, it doesn't sound completely all the same. It doesn't sound meshed together. It doesn't sound like copy paste. There's a song on here where West Side Gun is singing, French Toast. It's a beautiful song. I absolutely enjoy it. I know it's not hugely popular with the fan base, but I absolutely enjoy it because it sounds like West Side Gun is having fun with his craft. And that's what it is. It's his craft. There's a song on here that alters his voice completely. And then after that, Boldy James comes in with a killer fucking verse. When you can hear the fun that is being had on these songs, and when you can hear the enjoyment, the overall enjoyment that the artist is having while making this song, when you can hear the production and the effort and the fucking not just the production, there's features on here. Joey Badass is featured on this song. On this album. So is Benny and Conway. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Tyler the Creator has a really monster verse, another one on this fucking album. Now the one thing that I would say about this album is that it becomes lacking in the last 2 songs that's had. I'm not a huge fan of Keisha Plum's delivery on anything. I'm not a huge fan of her at all, but it's cool. I don't think it diminishes from what West Side Gun has put out this year, which is this fucking amazing body of work. Pray for Paris, West Side Gun at number 5. Now, we're moving down to number 4 spot. Number 4. And this album right here, it's called Modus Vivendi by 070 Shake. She's a Jersey girl, which holds a complete bias in my heart. I gotta support anyone from Jersey, but Modus Vivendi by 070 Shake. Now, let me tell you something about this fucking album. I fell in love with the electronic pop that is found on this album. I am an absolute, I don't know what it is from this album that made me fall in love with it, but it's that. I know it just sounds like I said a whole bunch of bullshit, but this production on this album is second to fucking none. On top of that, my God, 070 Shake's delivery on this fucking record is beautiful. I'm such a huge fan of her delivery. She sounds robotic. Look at the album cover. She sounds robotic, and it just fits the aesthetic that she's going for when creating this fucking body of work. It allows for there to be a different feel to her music in general. The album itself, in my opinion, has no skips. It's a beautiful album, and I encourage everyone to go check this album out for yourself. 070 Shakes Modus Vivendi. That's number 4. There's not really, when you get down to music that's this good, there's not really much you can say, but go listen to this shit, man. Go listen to this shit and come back to me with your opinion. I don't want to sit here and influence your opinion. I just love that music. Sometimes it's hard for me to explain why I do. Maybe it's just a personal preference. Not everyone is gonna like that electronic sound, but moving on to number 3. This album is by one of my favorite artists of all time, and it's not even close. Mac Miller. Now Mac Miller passed away a couple years ago in 2018. around the September August time, and he was working on this album before he passed away, and they ended up releasing it after his death earlier this year. Now, Jesus, I don't want to start crying talking about this album, but it's a really beautiful album. Sometimes it gets really tough to listen to, and it's a constant reminder of what Mac Miller could have been, where he was going in his career as well. The beautiful, more focusing on the song writing and the song vibe and the song instrumental rather than rapping. I think this album, along with Swimming, which was supposed to be a concept album, Swimming in Circles, was his step away from hip hop and R&B, because the Divine Feminine, his other studio album, the one before all that, it still had jazz incorporated, and it still had verses on it. On these past couple albums, on Circles and on Swimming, it was a lot more singing. It was a lot more songwriting. It was a lot more focus on the music, and it's very disheartening. It's tough for me to listen to this album front to back, if I'm being completely honest, just because the music itself is beautiful. I think this album is flawless in a lot of aspects, from the songwriting to production. And yeah, I think it's an album that everyone should listen to. When people say that Mac Miller is an overrated artist, I don't agree with that, just because of they're judging him as a hip hop artist, and it's so clearly in the middle of his career, he didn't want to be that no more. He was branching off and doing a lot more than just hip hop. You can even see the remnants of like that in albums like Macadelic and albums like Watching Movies with the Sound Off, where he was getting into a lot more alternative hip hop. I think it was very bittersweet for him to have this in the stash, just because he wouldn't be able to appreciate this body of work that he was making fully, and that's always sad. So Circles, number 3. I would encourage everyone to give it a listen. And I want to move on to number 2. Now, number 2, now number 2 is Ransom and Nicholas Craven's director's cut series. I'm a really fan of both 2 and 3. Now this album, I talked about it earlier this year with my podcast, but this album is a really, really, really hard hitting life reality type rap. Ransom, he does a beautiful job of taking his life experiences in these songs and just applying them to universal truths about each other. And in Scene 2, I'm a bigger fan of Scene 3 than Scene 2, but Scene 2 has highs that you just can't ignore, such as songs with like Inception and Hellraiser, and both of these are about 6 to 8 tracks each, but if you combine them into a full album, I think there's no contest between this album and the albums that I listed before it, just with the reality that he's spitting, I think we need more artists like this who are able to provide insight to maybe younger artists that might be listening, or maybe younger men, younger people who need guidance, who need a voice to tell them what to do and where to go wrong, how to spot people who may be doing bad for you, and how to overall maneuver through life And that's what this album does for me, especially. It allows me, it gives me the perspective of someone who's lived lifetimes, and not just lived lifetimes, lived life through something worse that I've been through, and it allows me to share experiences and to relate to a lot of the shit that he's saying, because as humans, we take negative interpretations, and we all see them the same way. It's just a matter of the details are tweaked. But number 2, director's cut, scene 2 and scene 3. Nicholas Craven's production on this was really fucking amazing. Another thing that I can't stress enough is that the production was very minimal on this album, because it was just focusing on the storytelling of Ransom, but it was still very powerful. Go listen to both of these albums, Ransom's director's cut 2 and 3. Now these are mixtapes, but I'm just doing anything right here that counts as a project that was released in 2020. Now, number 1, my favorite project of this year, and the one that I listened to on a daily basis, and really can appreciate the music that was put out by these two Blue in Exile Miles. Now, similar to Ransom, the content of these albums are heavy. They are fucking universal, and they are life lessons. They take these concepts, and they're able to twist them into poetry. That's what this album right here reminds me of. It reminds me of poetry. Now, I fell in love with the jazz infused, just because I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge sucker for when artists are able to successfully incorporate jazz into their music. This album is about an hour and a half long, but let me tell you something. It doesn't have a single skip on it. And when you are listening just back to back, the way that Blue, I don't know who's the one that's rapping and who's not. I think it's Blue. I'm gonna just say Blue. The way he connects themes and stories within the album from one song to another, and then just takes it and it's able to flip it on its head and offer a completely different perspective on a similar topic, but not completely relatable, is absolutely beautiful to me. And I want to discover more artists who are able to do that with their body of work. A beautiful listen, a beautiful time. Maybe you got a joint that you would roll up. If you're asking me, I would roll up a joint, put this on, and just sit back and listen to what these two got to say. It's powerful, man. It's powerful. It's and it was unprecedented, because these two haven't really made music the past 4 to 5 years together, and for them to come back and deliver such quality music is it says a lot. It speaks a lot to the care that they put into the music, and that's not to say that anyone else on this list didn't put care into the music. This was different, though. This album was different. I would encourage anyone who maybe want to listen to any of the 15 on here. If you're gonna listen to one, I kind of put these in order of the importance of you to listen. And if you're gonna listen to just one out of the 15 that I've listed, I would encourage you to listen to this one, Miles. It's just relatable music to me, anyway. And yeah, that's my top 15 of 2020. Let's see. That's my top 15 of 2020. And I've been recording for a while now, so let me go ahead and okay. So for these last couple minutes, what I want to do is I want to end up talking about the Eagles for a bit. Now, the Eagles lost this past weekend to the Cowboys, like around 30 something to 17, and I've been saying it for about 2 to 3 years. You can shuffle the quarterback all you want. I think the play calling is really what's at fault here, and just the way our offense is run. Since the Super Bowl, since we won the Super Bowl, we have not been over 500. Now that speaks more to coaching than anything else, because with the revolving staff of players that you have every single year, it's up to the coach in order to create a plan to win, you know? And if you can't create a plan to win, you can't just dump it on one player and say it's his fault, i.e. Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz does not deserve all that blame, you know? And I get it, there's been injuries and shit, but I just don't think our game plan is enough to win a Super Bowl again, you know? I think when we had our offensive coordinator, when we had someone dedicated to running the offense instead of having our head coach do that for us, we were so much better, because we ran, even that year, they would say it all the time, the year that we won the Super Bowl, we'd run a West Coast offense, you know? We didn't have to rely on RPOs and short gains. Like, we were a run-based organization as well, because that's what a West Coast offense is. They short, intermediate, and run-based to set up for the long, deep pass or the bomb down the field. And that's what we did for a lot of 2017. We just haven't been able to recapture that mojo, because ever since Frank Reich left, Doug Peterson does not know what the fuck he's doing. You can't place that blame on Wentz, is what I'm trying to say. You can't place all of the fault on Wentz and then sub in a rookie quarterback and expect him to just fucking magically heal all the problems that Wentz has had to go through. It just doesn't work like that. And I'm not being a Wentz apologist here. I'm simply stating the facts of a team that I've watched year in and year out. I hate when people just label me a Wentz apologist, or someone who just will defend Wentz at all costs just because of, I've watched the team, asshole. You haven't. You're just tweeting or laying a fucking Instagram comment. You haven't watched my team play. How the hell do you don't know more than me? That's just a simple fact. If you watch highlights of all this shit that Carson Wentz has done bad, of course he's going to look like a fucking terrible quarterback. He played awful this year. But he doesn't trust the scheme that he's running anymore. That's the main problem. There's something there between the head coach and Carson Wentz. And that's what I've been trying to say for this entire year. And we'll see. They play against Washington to try to spoil the season. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that we would be able to get out the rut and beat Washington, because I don't want them fucking celebrating a title victory at the Link. That'd just be fucking a bad look for the Eagles, you know? What a way to end the season, to let your fucking division rival celebrate at your fucking house. Don't let that happen, Eagles. Do not let the Washington football team win the division. Don't. I'm counting on you, trash Eagles. Please. Make my season somehow. Jesus. And that's really all I wanted to say on the Eagles. Before I leave, I kind of wanted to talk about the stimulus bill just a little bit. Apparently, we're gonna get $2,000 back, and you know, I keep on trying to say this that money isn't a real thing, and they keep on fucking trying to make excuses and shit as to why not they wouldn't give us the money back. But like at the end of the day, you know, you'd rather spend money elsewhere in foreign affairs and in military defense instead of putting the money back into the pockets of the people, you know, until your citizens, the one that you're supposed to run. You know, to me, if you ask me, there is no other way to repay. There's no way to repay your citizens of the country for the way that you have mishandled this pandemic. You know, you like the government has completely fucked over the way they handled this pandemic, and there's no way that you can repay that because lives were lost, right? So the least you could do is give us $2,000. Just put money back into our pocket so we'd be able to fucking, you know, as compensation. Is that too much to ask for? Your citizens were fucking dying on the streets. to think that such an issue would put a strain on the economy, no, it wouldn't. Y'all spend more yearly on international defense, military affairs, and police on a yearly basis. I saw somewhere, I read online somewhere where it said that like providing everyone with $2,000 would be like 400 billion more or 40 billion more, whatever the case may be. The fact that you don't want to reinvest into your people says a lot about you, nation. The least you could do is compensate us for the shit that you've put us through, you know? There was a time in this year where unemployment was at an all-time high. And you can't give us that money that we lost back. Thanks a lot, America. Y'all be so fucking proud to be American too. Y'all. And they can't even give y'all $2,000 as a result of this crazy ass fucking year that they've put you through. Partly. Because they mishandled the situation completely. But, you know, who am I? I'm just a 19-year-old kid. What the fuck do I know? I'll end the podcast there because I've been recording for almost an hour, and I know no one is going to sit down and watch this for a fucking hour, so I'll stop right there. Yeah. Next time I see you guys, it'll be a brand new year, you know? New year, new me. Damn. I wish you guys have had a happy holiday. I wish you guys will have a happy new year. I wish you guys will really sit back and celebrate the moment that is now, you know, regardless of how this year has played out. I hope you guys can sit back and enjoy the now. What is the now? Now we're entering a new year, you know, right now. We're entering a new year. We're entering a new chapter in our lives. And I know that sounds cliche as fuck, but it's the truth, you know. It's a beautiful time to be alive. So take advantage of it. And with that, I'll leave you guys off. I'll be back here next week. That much I can promise you. With a whole bunch of new shit to talk about. But yeah. I'll see you guys later. And I'll be back here next week, I promise. I hope you guys have a good week. A good New Year's. A good holiday. Like, comment, subscribe, feedback, all that good stuff. And yeah, I'll head out this time around. You know what I mean? All right.